I've happened to notice that Batman came across a lot of ghosts in the early 1970s. We had ghosts, or in some cases supposed ghosts, popping up all over issues of Batman and Detective Comics during this era. They weren't quite as frequent as aliens were in the early 1960s, but still noticeable enough. Not really sure what that's all about. I guess you might say the early 70s was simply a spooky period for Batman. Let's not forget that the Spook, a now completely forgotten character, was one of Batman's biggest villains in the 70s too. Anyway, since it's Halloween, I figured it would be fitting for me to make a video about this spooky subject. So I've decided to present to you one of my favorites out of these Batman ghost tales. A sort of reading of the story, something which I never really do. The story in question is titled Wail of the Ghost Bride, and was published in Batman 236 in 1971. It was written by Frank Robbins and penciled by Novick, while Neil Adams did the cover. A very spooky cover, I might add, that immediately sets the tone for the story inside. So, those of you brave enough, grab a candle and let's travel to the unnatural side of Gotham. Our tale begins with Bruce Wayne on an airplane headed back for Gotham City after business out of town. To pass the time, Bruce is reading a book about unsolved mysteries and comes across the story of Corinne Hellblaine. Corinne was a rich Gotham socialite who died years ago during a boat trip on her honeymoon. According to her bridegroom, Axel March, she fell overboard, but many suspect it wasn't an accident, but murder. These people claim Axel threw her overboard, desiring to inherit Corinne's vast fortune. What further fuels this theory is the fact the Hellblaine mansion was soon sold off by Axel, as he moved abroad and started a new life. Of course, no one really knows what truly happened. Tired from his trip, Bruce soon begins to nod off, but awakens to the sight of a specter outside his window, Twilight Zone style. This specter appears to be the ghost of Corinne Hellblaine, complete in a ghostly bride gown and everything. The ghost implores Bruce with an eerie wail to avenge her death, even calling him Batman. Naturally, Bruce tries to shrug it off as imagination brought on by his tiredness, but can't quite bring himself to do so. Later, while cruising the streets of Gotham in a Batmobile, he's subjected to the ghostly voice once again pleading for him to avenge her death. As he rounds a corner, he sure enough comes face to face with the spirit of Corinne Hellblaine, this time appearing in a store window. While Batman is busy freaking out about the ghost, a criminal comes out of nowhere, seizing the opportunity to attack the Dark Knight. I guess they're just crawling all over the place. It is Gotham City after all. During the scuffle, the store window is broken, and a store mannequin is revealed to stand in the ghost's place. After kicking the criminal's ass, Batman then comes to the conclusion that a mannequin was all it was, and that once again it was simply his mind playing tricks on him. But really, Bruce, either that's a real ghost or you're suffering from some pretty serious hallucinations and need to get help. The next morning, Bruce receives an invitation by letter to a charity event called Help Raise Hellblaine. Apparently by some stroke of random coincidence, the Hellblaine mansion is set to be razed by its current owner, socialite Mrs. Tyler Tilford. In its stead will stand a public playground, which will be funded by the Demolishers, Gotham's wealthiest. Every mover and shaker in the city has been invited to tear the place apart, for fun and for a good cause. Yeah, the rich sure have a weird way of spending their pastime. Anyway, as such, it's not strange that Bruce received an invitation too. However, it is strange that all of this is happening now, at the same time as the former owner of Hellblaine Manor is haunting Batman from beyond the grave. Nevertheless, Bruce accepts the invitation and shows up, not ready to demolish, but to keep his eye open for anything unusual. And sure enough, something unusual does indeed happen, as Bruce is slugged on the head while trying to have a look upstairs. Clearly someone is up to something upstairs, and they don't want snoopers. But snoop Bruce will do anyway, and thus dons the garb of Batman when he awakens, and sneakily makes his way upstairs. What he finds there are two goons, whom he quickly dispatches, and none other than Axel March, Corinne Hellblane's bridegroom. Axel is up to something rather suspicious. He's namely hammering away at a wall, despite the fact the event's attendees were told not to do so upstairs, as the upstairs floors aren't safe enough. Axel is of course not there to help raise the Hellblane Manor though. No, he's there to rid of evidence. Evidence that surely would have been uncovered once the manor had been demolished. Namely, the skeleton of his bride, Corinne Hellblane. Yep, he had murdered her all along. Killed her before boarding the boat for their honeymoon even, then bricked up her corpse in the wall, thinking no one would ever discover it. Who later accompanied him on the boat was a stand-in, Axel's accomplice in the devious plot. Mrs. Tyler Tilford herself. She wasn't interested in the vast inheritance though, she did it for love. She loved Axel and hoped that with Corinne out of the way, he'd be hers for the taking. He wasn't though, as Axel was merely using her for their scheme and loved only money. Tilford never knew what Axel did with Corinne's body though, and had no clue it was in one of the walls of the house she herself had lived in all these years. She revealed their whole scheme on accident. Of course, Bruce would never have uncovered all of this if it hadn't been for Corinne's ghost, urging him on to investigate. At the very end though, in a prologue, Batman comes to the conclusion that the ghost was just a figment of his imagination after all, a manifestation of his own sense of injustice. However, he does give us, the readers, the opportunity to decide for ourselves. A ghost or not a ghost. Batman was breaking the fourth wall long before Deadpool and She-Hulk even existed. Me, I choose a ghost, because if it wasn't, then Batman is either crazier than we ever knew, or he's doing LSD. What do you say, dear viewers? Was there something supernatural going on here, or just the overactive mind of a caped crusader? And that was a Halloween special reading of the Wail of the Ghost Bride, a classic Bronze Age Batman ghost story. I guess we'll see how well you guys respond to this video, and maybe I'll make more of them. I'm generally opposed to comic readings on YouTube, as I feel you should read the comics yourself, and it also does seriously push the limits of fair use, putting your channel in jeopardy. However, I might do these every once in a while, at least for special occasions. For instance, maybe I'll do a reading of a classic Batman Christmas story this Christmas. As long as they're old comics that's never even been reprinted, I don't think DC will give a damn. Anyway, have a happy Halloween, and as always, remember, Arkham Asylum awaits you in the next video.